The reason why they do this is because they don't take care of these emotional human needs first. They have these emotional human needs. And the reason why this is because those emotional needs need to be answered. They need to be taken care of. And if you do it within the first 30 to 50 seconds, boy, you're going to change everything.
And just really getting a crystal clear understanding while you're having that conversation with that potential customer, making sure a customer is the right fit for our business, we're the right fit for them.
Our goal is to help technicians, comfort advisors to create an environment of safety, comfort, and fun. In that environment,
Brigham, welcome to the Site Shed podcast.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. Grateful for the opportunity.
I've never had a Brigham on the show.
How about that? First Brigham. And from Utah, no less.
But I have presented with a Brigham once before. Do you know him? Man, I reckon
he sounds like a great guy.
I reckon we shared a stage. I'm going to say it was back in 2000 and, mate, I reckon 11 or something like that. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
At an event in Sydney.
And Sydney is absolutely beautiful.
You were just getting started and I hadn't yet started.
Yeah.
So there we go.
So my only regret, as I mentioned to you before, is that I didn't spend more time there.
Well, you just have to come back, mate.
Just looking for a good excuse, Matt. You got one?
Hint, hint. Well, mate, thanks so much for joining us. All the way from Utah. We're here today to talk a little bit about your business model, which I'll get you to give us an intro in a second. But I know a bit of a spoiler alert for you guys listening out there. Like, this call is going to be really relevant to helping you guys have better conversations with existing and potential customers. So Brigham, give us a bit of a rundown as to who you are, what you do, blah blah blah.
Yeah, so I own a company called Power Selling Pros, and Matt, it's one of the things I do. Right. If this was the only thing I did, I think I'd go stir crazy. I mean, I love it. But if it's all I did, my gosh.
Sure.
Sorry,
what do you do for work?
Now you're like, oh, okay, I got to be really specific with Brigham. He's kind of slow. So Power Selling Pros is a company that I started about 15 years ago. And certainly by accident. And basically what we do is we train your call handling team. We train them one-on-one, twice a month over the phone using their own phone calls. So it's based on their own performance. You'll have trainees that go through a training and they're like, oh my gosh, it changed my life. And then they go back to what they were doing before, right? And so we want to affect change. And the way that we do that, the only way we know how to do that is to actually listen to their calls over time and provide feedback and coaching using their own performance. Habits are hard to break. And so we painstakingly go through the process and coach them over time to break those habits and form new ones, new roads, new pathways. And our end goal is for them to create a wow experience for the customer. Not just book the call, but wow that customer so that they go, oh my gosh, this is an amazing experience. Mm-hmm. To the point where you're the only one going out to the customer's home. If you're the only one going out to the customer's home, chances are you're going to make a sale. At the end of the day, you're going to make something happen. You're going to do something inside that customer's home. And so the benefit of what we do and how we do it is that we're not going to say, hey, this is what you should do with your calling in the team. We're going to say, hey, this is what you should do, and we're going to get it done for you, if that makes sense.
Sure. So one of the big problems that I run a digital agency, and we essentially do like lead generation for trade businesses, specifically solar companies, bathroom renovations, and roofing companies. And the main problem that we solve when they come to us is, okay, we're very heavily dependent on referrals and word of mouth. And as you know, you can't really scale that. So we sort of deploy a predictable model in their business where we can get consistent leads. But then the very next thing that always falls over 100% of the time is sales process of some sort. And so I'm super interested to get your take on what that process looks like, because it's a big learning curve for customers, especially if they're used to coming out of, that warm and fuzzy, warm traffic referral model where everyone's like, hey, here's my checkbook. By the name, my name's Sally. And I always feel like, It's they're thrown into this snake pit of cold traffic, and all of a sudden they've got to start having these conversations with prospects to get them warmed up and all this kind of stuff. And it's a learning curve. It really is. And there's an entirely different way to sell to these leads that are coming through that don't know who you are.
Yeah. So on top of that, you've got a team of call handlers that the minute you use the word sell or selling, they're out of it, right? They don't want to have anything to do with sales. It's kind of like a technician. If you mention the word sales, they're like, hey, I'm not in sales. I don't want to be a salesperson. And they get really, really uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So it's funny that you bring it up. It's a great question. This is the way that I got into this business. I in 2008, I don't know if you were subjected to the crazy home crash of 2008, like we were in the United States, but it was really bad. In fact, I can remember in 2007 shoveling my walk. There was a bunch of snow on the ground. For those of you in Sydney, it's this white stuff. It falls on the ground. It's really thick. And it's cold, super, super cold.
Yeah, right. Like, there's plenty of white stuff falling on the ground in nightclubs in Sydney, but not so much in the driveways.
So anyway, I was shoveling my walk, and my next door neighbor happened to be in the mortgage industry. And he said, Brigham, I don't know what you have planned for the next year, but you need to hunker down. And of course, I was oblivious to what he was saying. I had no idea where he was coming from. And I thought to myself, life is good. Life is amazing. You see, I was about to merge my company in with a technology company, one that professed to do a manual J heating and cooling calculation in 4 minutes or less. Now, what I didn't realize is that it wasn't an accurate manual J, right? And so in other words, the system size never came out right using this technology. And so I happened to merge my marketing company in with this organization, and it went kaput within 5 months. It was bad. And so 2008 was a rough year for me. And we ended up moving into my brother's house just to get by after all that went down. I mean, we were paying employees, not paying ourselves for months. And back in 2008, 2009, so it was rough. And I happened to have a few heating and cooling companies left over from that whole experience. And they were allowing me to help them with their advertising. Now, I was an independent broker for this ad agency. At the time, they couldn't even afford to hire me. It was that bad. And so they were happy to pay me for the clients I brought them. But if I didn't bring them any clients, guess what? I didn't make any money. So there's this company called Nearing's Plumbing and Heating in Utah. And I was helping them with their digital advertising. And they brought me in and they sat me down and they said, Brigham, we need to let you go. Now, this is one of my only sources of income, so I wasn't about to let him go. So I said, well, what's going on? What's happening? He says, well, your leads. And I said, well, what's wrong with the leads? I thought your phone was ringing. And he says, well, they just want a ballpark price. They just want to know what you charge them out. They just want to talk to a technician. And we don't know how to book these calls, Brigham. So we gotta put a hold on all this. And I said, well, Troy, if the phone is ringing, why do you think it's ringing? You think it's ringing, for their health? You think it's ringing because a homeowner's just having fun and, is it a wrong phone number? Well, no, we just don't know how to book these opportunities. And I said, well, why don't we train your CSRs on how to book them? I mean, because Troy, are you getting any other types of calls coming in, whether it's through my advertising or not? No, not getting any other calls. So sounds like we don't have a choice. Why don't we train them on how to book those calls while those customers so that we can keep this advertising going? And he said, well, are you willing to train them? And I said, absolutely. You know what? I thought training them was a great alternative to getting fired. Right. And so sure enough, he said, yeah, you can train him. And within a month, we had his call conversion up by 20%. Mm. And he referred me to his buddy in Boulder, Colorado. You know how this industry is. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you do a good job, everybody's going to know about it. Yeah. So I got referred to this guy named Tom Robichaud, Precision Plumbing and Heating in Boulder, Colorado. He calls me up and he says, hey, I hear you're working with Troy. I said, yep, I'm working with Troy. And I also do his advertising. And he said, well, that's good. That's great. But it sounds like you're training his call handling team. And I said, yep, I'm training his call handling team and I'm doing his advertising. And he says, well, we've got that covered. But I'll pay you to train my team. And of course, the light bulb came up over my head. I was like, oh, okay. All right. I can actually make money this way. And so I got his call conversions up. and he paid me to do that. That was awesome. And then Tom and Troy got together and they were talking and they said, hey, Brigham's doing a great job for us. What if we were to refer him to Mike Aguilera of gold medal in East Brunswick, New Jersey? So next thing I know, they refer me to him, and that's a story in of itself. Holy cow, if you've ever met Mike.
I met Mike.
Yeah, so he signed up, and within a few months, there were several heating and cooling companies calling me. And the next thing I know, Matt, I'm hiring all my friends, and I don't have a lot of friends. They all work with me. And that's why I can call them friends, is because I pay them to call them friends. And you know, we've never looked back. We had 6 CSRs with Troy in the beginning, and now we have over 1,000 in our program throughout the United States, as well as Canada, as well as Australia.
Wow.
And we monitor calls. We monitor their calls, and we coach them using their own phone calls. It's about a half hour per coaching session. It's 2 coaching sessions a month, and we take them through 4 levels of certification. It's a bit of a university. It takes about a year and a half to complete, and most stay on with us after it's over. And our goal is threefold. Number one, to book that call. That's a given. But above and beyond that, we want them to take control of their own income. We want them selling club memberships. We want them cross-selling. So if they are doing roofing and the company also does windows and doors or siding, we want to teach them on how to turn that into not just a roofing opportunity, but a window opportunity and a siding opportunity and a heating and cooling opportunity. Whatever it is that you're providing, we want them to learn how to cross-sell. And we want to train and incentivize them to make more money. That way they stay in that seat. Mm-hmm. They stay on your call handling team, right? They're not so transient. They actually stay there. If you're going to spend money on them, it's important for them to stay in that seat.
Sure.
And the best way to get them to stay in that seat is for them to control their own income. And so, long answer to your short question, Matt, is that they need to be trained. And the cool thing about them getting trained is that whatever you teach them to do on an inbound call, let's say calls aren't coming in. Well, it's a very natural transition to have them start calling outbound as well. And it bodes really, really well for digital ad agencies like yourself.
Yeah, no, amazing. I actually had Mike Disney on the podcast a little while
Oh, how
back.
about that?
Yeah. So he's for you guys out there, Mike Aguilera handed off the CEO tag to Mike years back. But yeah, that was great. And so I want to dive a little bit more. Well, actually, I mean, I'm happy for you to row the boat on this recording. But I think what a lot of the listeners out there would really like to hear is some of those processes, that the CSRs actually go through. And one of the questions that I have for you before we even jump into that is, how many clients do you guys work with who are the ones taking the calls, in the early stages, or do you only work with businesses that have a dedicated CSR?
Okay, so it's a great question. And when you say dedicated CSR, that's all they do, or versus somebody who, yes, they answer the phones, but they also have a lot of other responsibilities inside the organization as well.
Sure. Well, I mean, like it's pretty common for us when we have, businesses come on board and, they're the first people that are learning the process, taking the calls, and whatever. And then down the track, it's a case of, okay, well, let's bring people in because obviously they're too busy to do that. Mm-hmm. So if they're lucky, they've got office staff and they've got people that are, they can hand that responsibility off to.
Okay. So I realize that as a company grows, you're going to be wearing several hats, right? Your objective as you grow is to become more and more focused on those things that you enjoy doing.
Or are good at.
Yes, to both, right?
Where is my time best spent?
Exactly. So the sad thing about that is that as you get bigger and responsibilities become more focused, some of those individuals on your team that helped you arrive at where you are no longer a good fit. And it's very difficult, especially and it's funny because you go to events and contractors in this industry act so tough, oh, I'll let him go. No problem whatsoever. Whatever. The hearts in this industry are so big, and they may act tough, but at the end of the day, it is very, very hard to let somebody go that has helped you get from 1 million to 3 million or from 3 million to 5 million. But the truth is if you cannot find a place for them, if they're unwilling to grow with the organization, you do have to move on. Mm-hmm. So the reason why I say that in answer to your question is because, yes, in the beginning, everybody's going to have to answer the phones, right? And we need to train those individuals and give them a skill set to book that call and while that customer. Now, if you are the owner, you need to get off the phone as quickly as possible, okay? Mm-hmm. In the beginning stages, I realize, right, if it's just you and a few other guys, I get it. You answering the phone is probably a necessity. But the first thing you want to offload is call handling. Now, this is a hard thing for a small business owner to do because there's such a sense of urgency in call handling, right? They've got a problem. Customer has a problem. Oh my gosh. And money's involved. And nobody's going to do it like they do it. And this is the very thing that keeps them from getting any bigger. And so they've got to get rid of that responsibility. They've got to give it to somebody and then let them be trained, let them be held accountable over time. Because guess what? You don't get a hold of a doctor over the phone. And the reason for that is because the doctor doesn't make as much money over the phone. The doctor makes more money in the customer's home. So you've got to, when you go to their office, right? But even if they make a house call, guess what? They're going to make a serious amount of money. And so the doctor has got to be able to get inside the customer's home. And then guess what? At some point, you're going to need to offload that responsibility. So all these major responsibilities that you have to do, and nobody can do better than you, at some point, you're going to have to offload it and give it to somebody else, give them training, and give them freedom to fail so that your organization can grow. And your goal is to get to the point where you're only doing those things that you enjoy doing. And if that's golf, guess what? It's golf.
It's one of those. So we've, over the years, spoken a lot with probably a common colleague of ours, Mr. Al Levy. Have you ever met Al?
Man, the name.
I recognize the name. Anyway, Al is a system guru. He's been on the show loads of times, and he's preached from the beginning the whole concept around organizational charts. And essentially, when you begin a business, you might be wearing all those hats, but then piece by piece, as you try to grow the business, you need to remove yourself from doing specific roles, which means bringing people in, training them up, and a large part of that is what you're talking about. Where is my time best spent, and what do I enjoy doing, and how about I get someone in to do the things I'm not very good at doing, and truthfully don't enjoy anyway. And then piece by piece, you bring people in to fill those positions, and before you know it, you have a business.
Yes, not just a job. You didn't just create a job for yourself. You actually created a business that generates revenue.
And interestingly, and I'm not sure if it's what your experience as well, but when people like not always, but often the conversation we have when they do come out of this warm, fuzzy, warm traffic spill, they've never really had to sell. It's never really been a case of it because they've just come in. These leads have come in so hot and ready to go. It's like they just have that. This is how it's supposed to be. Selling is easy, But then all of a sudden, when you're like, okay, well, if you want to scale the business and you need, new leads, and it's a very different dynamic, and that's kind of a bit of a reset for a lot of people because a lot of businesses realize, oh wow, we've had it easy for a long time, but this new direction's kind of awkward, kind of tough, and truthfully, I don't really enjoy it much.
Well, I mean, it's the nature of the beast. I mean, it ebbs and flows. We're gonna have. It's just like 2007. 2007 was amazing, and we thought nothing could touch us. we thought in 2019 that nothing could touch us. That was that was just a wake up call. Yeah. What happened afterwards. This is just the way it goes.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is for you guys out there that are interested in like the scale conversation, and scale doesn't always necessarily mean more either. It just can sometimes mean better. And at some point, inevitably, you're going to have to take one hat off and put another one on, or take that hat off and put it on someone else in order to help you scale. And from what Brigham's saying, and truthfully, my experience is exactly the same. The first thing you want to offload is, especially when you're in the space of marketing and lead generation, is handling those calls.
Agreed. Yes. I realize I just agree with myself. Yes.
Nothing weird about that.
At all.
You didn't high-five yourself, so
Yeah. Well, I could pat myself on the back too. How about that? All right. So here's you asked earlier about what exactly do we teach? And for example, how do you overcome a call where a customer says, "Hey, I just want to talk to a technician over the phone"? Is that kind of what you were getting at?
Well, yes and no, but I mean, even before that, or maybe it is. It's a lead that comes in and they don't really know you. They've seen an ad, for example, and they're like, maybe I'm interested in this, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe I don't really have the context around it. And, that whole communication, like cadence that needs to happen in order to get them to the next stage of the sales cycle, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Like, what is that initial triage call, discovery, whatever you want to call it? What does it typically look like?
Yeah. Happy to go over that. Do you happen to have a Home Depot in Australia? I'm just curious.
We have similar. We have Bunnings.
It's called Bunnings.
Bunnings, yeah.
Bunning. Hopefully I say it right.
Yeah,
Bunnings.
right.
Okay, so the reason why they're calling you is because they either don't want to do it or they don't know how. Okay, that's number one. They either don't want to do it or they don't know how, which means it's not even a sale. All you have to do is help them see that it's going to be easier, faster, less hassle to work with you. Okay, guess what? They don't even want 5 bids. The only reason why they're asking for 5 bids is because they're not sure they've called the right place and they don't have enough trust. Okay, so if in the beginning they don't have trust, fine, that's a given. But at the end of that phone call, they still don't have trust in you. Whose fault is that? That's our fault. That's a training issue. Okay, so how do we go about it? It's very simple. We use this tool called the Pattern for Excellence. Okay, it's 8 principles and 1 outcome. Okay, so the outcome is to wow the customer. That's our outcome. There are 8 principles that we teach to help you achieve that outcome. Okay, so positive attitude is first and foremost. So it's the first principle in the pattern. And then confidence. And you get confidence through practice and preparation, listening to your phone calls. You show the customer that you're listening. You show them that you care. You reassure them that they've called the right place. And you ask the right questions. After you've asked the right questions, you create value and you're grateful. You master this set of principles. You're going to book calls. You're going to wow customers. You're going to make sure that you're the only one going out to the customer's home. Now, everybody listening is going, well, that sounds pretty simple. Yeah, it's simple. It's simple. But for whatever reason, without regular accountability, it's very hard for those who answer the phones to remember to do it on a regular basis. So our goal with this customer, this one that wants a ballpark price over the phone, that wants to know what you charge to come out, that just wants to talk to somebody over the phone, right? We want to show them that we're listening. We want to show them that we care. And we want to reassure them that they've called the right place. Okay? Every customer that comes on the phone has an emotional human need to feel understood, cared about, and reassured. They need that first. Okay? This is also the reason why your calls take too long. A lot of people listening are like, oh my gosh, if only my team would answer the call in less time. They spend so much time over the phone. Well, the reason why they do this is because they don't take care of these emotional human needs first. You see, a customer goes back to these needs at the end of a phone call. Let's say you get done with a call, you book that call, and that customer at the end of that call, after the appointment's booked, says, so about my situation, so about what's going on. What they're saying there is I'm not sure you understand. And if you don't understand, I'm not sure I want you out because I'm not sure that you can help me. And I don't even know if you care. Okay? They have these emotional human needs. And if you don't take care of those needs first, they may book with you and they still might call somebody else and book with them. And by the time your technician gets out there, it's going to be really awkward when the thing is already fixed. And I know that never happens except for all the time. And the reason why this is because those human emotional needs need to be answered. They need to be taken care of. And if you do it within the first 30 to 50 seconds, boy, you're going to change everything.
So what are the emotional needs?
Listen, care, reassure. Here's one way to apply them. There's a lot of ways to apply them. I'm going to give you one way to apply them. Customer gets on the phone. They want a ballpark price. Great. Tell me more about your situation. What's going on? Well, I've got this air conditioner. It's blowing hot air. My gosh, that's terrible. How long has it been doing that? Oh, last couple of days. Well, look, we could totally help you with that. When would you like us out? Oh, this afternoon would be good. What just happened?
Listened. You cared. Oh, that's terrible. And you reassured them. No problem. We can come out and fix it.
Yeah. And then I asked, when would you like us out? Oh, this afternoon would be good. You see, when I ask, when can we come out, they start thinking about us coming out. You see, their emotional human needs are taken care of. They feel understood. They feel cared about. They feel reassured that they've called the right place. And we simply ask, when would you like us to come out? Crazy thing.
But before you come out, Brigham, I want to know how much it is because I've got to shop around and get a few quotes.
Yeah, so here's what we do. It's a great question. What we do is we send out the technician. He comes out. He takes a look at the situation. He determines exactly what you need fixed, and he gives you a price before he starts. So he gives you that price while he's there. When would you like us out?
Do you get much resistance on the call? Do you guys do charge call outs? Do they have like call out fees?
Yeah. So here's what I would do in that situation. Let's say that we charge $90. So let's say you push back. Hey, I really just want to get an idea as to what you guys charge. It's a great question. Here's what we do. What we do is we send the technician out. He comes out. He takes a look at the situation. He determines exactly what you needed fixed, and he gives you a price, that price that you're looking for while he's there. Now, there's a $90 dispatch for him to come out and do that. When would you like us out? Let's say they don't like the $90, right? I don't want to pay the $90. Mr. Jones, is it just the $90 that you're concerned about? Yeah, I don't want to pay it. So if it weren't for the $90, would you move forward with the appointment? Well, yeah. Yeah, I would. Okay, well, there's one thing we can do there. We've got this club membership. It's awesome. We come out on a periodic basis in the spring and the fall. We make sure that everything is running the way that it should. The best part about it is it prevents things like this, the thing that you're dealing with right now, from happening. Now, if I can get you on the club membership as opposed to having you pay the dispatch, would that be enough for you to move forward with the appointment today?
How much is the membership?
It's $20 a month. I can get you going on it right now.
I don't do monthly subscriptions.
Okay. What would you like to do? Would you like to pay it for the year or for the month? I'll let you decide.
I just want to know what it's going to cost to fix my unit.
Totally. And it's just a matter of taking a look at it while we're there. When's a good time for us to come out?
You can come out right now.
Awesome. Let's do it. Let me get your contact info and we'll look at the schedule together.
Sure. But just want to let you know, I'm not paying you $90 to do it.
Tell you what, if we do the work, we'll waive it. How's that sound?
Done.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I think, and there's a lot of companies out this way, and a lot of clients of ours will do call out fees and things like that. And some of them get resistance, but I always say to clients too, like, look, let's be honest. If they're not prepared to spend $80, $90, $100 for you to spend your time to get out there and actually do a proper job of checking it out, are they really going to spend $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000, like, to get the project done? Like,
okay, so it's a great question.
It's a good qualifier, a good disqualifier.
Yeah. So I understand that some listening to this podcast are going to be like, dude, at what point do you walk away from that opportunity? Because if he can't afford this, chances are, no, he's got a home. He's got a home. He's got a car. Okay. Chances are he has a mortgage. The truth is that he wants to skip through some things. He wants to work his way around the process. And guess what? He's not the only one. We all do it. Okay. I'm certainly that way. I mean, I just am, right? I like to get a good deal. Who doesn't like to get a good deal? The last thing I want the person answering the phone to do is to judge that customer. You know why, Matt? Because you spend money, say we invest $5,000 on a digital marketing campaign. Okay, that's a lead. That's a lead that probably cost me $200. I want you to do everything possible to keep my team busy. So it's your job to book that call while that customer makes sure you're the only one going out. The minute we begin to judge calls, Matt, is the minute we get less calls. So the last thing I want is, now look, I'm the owner. If I want to judge a phone call, I'll judge a phone call. That's my prerogative. But if I'm the one answering the phone, my job is to book that call while that customer and make sure I'm the only one going out. That's my job. And the minute you give them license to not book a call, you're going to get less calls. So no, we want to give them every tool possible to book that call and book every call.
And is one of those tools, and do you believe in scripts?
Oh, of course. In fact, what you just heard was, a series of scripts that we use. Of course it's scripted. But my objective is to have them go beyond the scripts and master the principles behind the application, behind the scripts. Most of the time, the listen, care, reassure is going to get them. Surprisingly, it's going to get them, right? The skepticism comes in because, oh my gosh, it's too easy. There's no way that a price shopper is going to fall for that. Well, we do it in Australia all the time. Okay, all the time. Okay. Hey, I would just want to talk to. Yeah, go ahead.
It's not so. I mean, in my experience, it's not so much a matter of like trying to get them or whatever. It's more like the perceived value behind what you're offering them and helping them truthfully understand what it's going to cost as a business to get a technician in a vehicle during work hours in traffic out to a job to check on a project that potentially may not even go ahead. Mm-hmm. I think like my experience in the past has always been, well, listen, if you're going to invest time into doing something like going out there and investing it into a client, if the client understands that, and they understand that there's a time commitment, it's costing you money to send people out there. You're not obligated to go ahead with the project, but typically they're kind of reasonable about that and they get it.
Yeah. So all
Unless
we
I'm
need to
wrong.
do. No, you're right. You're right. I guess what I'm trying to convey is that you can have your cake and eat it too. Okay. You can have the dispatch of $90. You can have it. All we need to do is get out there. Okay. And my objective is to get you to the point where I often ask this of technicians. I say, guys, how do you get kissed on the first date? And funny thing, when I'm working with a technician, it's 6 a.m. because it's before they go out, right? And they usually need a coffee or two before they can pay attention. But when I ask that question, they don't need coffee anymore. They're sitting up in the chair. They're paying attention. Even if they're married, they haven't been kissed in weeks, Matt. So I simply tell them, guys, I'm going to tell you right now the secret to getting kissed on the first date. Okay, even if you're married. The way you get kissed on the first date is you create an environment of safety. Okay, because guess what? If they don't feel safe, you're not going to get kissed. If they don't feel comfortable, guess what? It's not happening. You're not going to get kissed. And if they're not having just a little bit of fun, trust me, you're not getting kissed. Okay, you've got to have that environment. At which point, a really smart Allocate technician is going to say, "Oh, so you want us to kiss our customers?" No, of course not. But I do want you to create an environment of safety, comfort, and fun. Now, the reason why I bring this up, Matt, is because the same is true with customers over the phone. Our goal within the first 30 to 50 seconds is to create an environment of safety, comfort, and fun in that buying environment. Everything else becomes easier. The reason for that, Matt, is because it's emotional. It's not logical. I get on that phone call. You're a thing. You're this thing I got to talk to in order to figure out what's going on with my roof and how much it's going to cost me to get it fixed. And I'm going to do everything I can to get the best deal that I can. But the minute I find out that you're a good person, that you're a person that's actually going to take care of me, you're a person that actually cares about my situation, you listen, care, you reassure, everything else is easier. And because it's emotional, you're going to get a whole lot less pushback on that $90. Now, for those few, Matt, that do push back on the $90, I'm going to give my team the skill set to get out there, because the minute I get out there, they're not going to care about the $90. They're going to care about the fact that we're about to do a $20,000 job. And the last thing I want as a business owner to prejudge that and potentially lose that just because of $90.
Let's talk a little bit about the calls that happen, the questions that get asked, and the emphasis on discovery. And I suppose this is one thing that we see a lot in the interest of making sure a customer is the right fit for our business, we're the right fit for them, and just really getting a crystal clear understanding while you're having that conversation with that potential customer of exactly what it needs to be done out there. So they're like, which will then perhaps lead to that next stage where we're like, right, this is a call out fee or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about discovery.
Yeah. So what you're getting at there is, okay, so what questions do we ask to make sure that we're a good fit for one another, that we can actually do things for one another? Now, look, if you're a small business, discover a way. Okay. All right. How long you've been in the home? How old is the home itself? What type of roofing is on there now? Right. How old are your windows? If it's heating and cooling, how old is the system itself? If it's plumbing, how old is your water heater? You can ask as many qualifying questions as you want to make sure that is a good fit before you go out there. You can do whatever you want. But Matt, if you want to grow, your objective is to book every call that comes in, whether they're shopping or not, to get them feeling very, very comfortable with your process, and have a salesperson go out to the house and sell something.
Do you guys train as well the salespeople?
It's a great question. So we teach soft skills. Okay, our goal is to help technicians, comfort advisors, to create an environment of safety, comfort, and fun. In that environment, we teach them to be curious about what's going on inside the customer's home. Not just go out to do the thing that you were called out to do, but actually gain access to the entire home. Why? Because guess what? It's a date. And when we put it that way, technicians and sales, whatever you call them, comfort advisors, project managers, whatever you call them, right? My objective is to get them to the point where they're very curious about what's going on inside the customer's home. They provide options based on that curiosity, and they get to yes or no. The reason why I do this, Matt, is because for a technician, the minute you say the word sales, they turn off. However, every technician, although they may be concerned about selling, they all want to do a good job. They all want to go home at night feeling like they've done a good job. And all I need to do is paint the picture of what a great job looks like. Okay. Now, beginning of the year of, what was it? 2022, I was working for a company, one of my clients, Valley Plumbing. And I did ride-alongs, I think it was like twice a week for 90 days. In the beginning, they were doing about 500,000 in plumbing sales. Towards the end, in the last month of that 90-day period, they were doing 700,000 in plumbing sales. And it was just all soft skills. It was that 6-step process where we create an environment of safety, comfort, and fun. And inside that environment, we get curious about what's going on inside the customer's home. We provide options based on that curiosity, and we get to yes or no. Be sure to get to yes or no. That's it. And funny thing, when I teach that, they go, wait, no selling? Did I say anything about selling? No, I didn't say it. Did you say anything about selling? Nobody said anything about selling. I want you to create an environment of safety, comfort, and fun. And in that environment, I want you to get very curious, provide options based on that curiosity, and get to yes or no. That's what I'm looking for. That's what a good job looks like. That's what great customer service looks like. And under the guise of great customer service, funny thing, how technicians respond.
Are you asking me? Or are you saying
no? That was actually a statement. That was like an exclamation point statement. That's how they respond.
So I've got an experience I want to share with you, and something we see happen quite often. And truth be told, like the sort of business that we tend to work with today are project based. So they're doing, projects that are in excess of 10, 15, 20 grand and up, sort of thing. Solar packages, roofs, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
The issue that many of them have when they come to us is they do go out and constantly do a lot of site visits, but they don't close the site visits. They're not closing them into jobs. And the issue could be one of two things, but what we've kind of narrowed it down to is, first and foremost, they're not getting enough information in the early stages to ascertain whether or not they're going out to a site that has a high probability of a close. And so we sort of tie this, I don't know, and it might be a little bit contradictory to what you're saying, and this is why I'm asking you, because I'd love to get your feedback on it. Like, the goal for us with our clients is not how many site visits they can do. It's how many site visits they can go to with a cash collected scenario, whatever that is, a deposit or a fee of some sort. And so what we've actually found, and shout out to one of our clients out there, Shay, who this process changed his conversion rate from 15% to literally 100%.
Wow, that's awesome.
He was, instead of going out to every site, he would instead just put the effort in the early stages in discovery, and then figure out, okay, if I'm only going to go out to site if I know I've got a really high probability of closing this, and he does. He closed them hand over fist. And so that's the question that and I don't know if we're like butting heads on that, or if there's like that we're meeting in the middle and I'm not seeing it somewhere. Like, how does that play out?
Okay. How many people are on his team?
I think like seven or eight. It's small.
Yeah. So of those 7 people, how many go out to the customer's home?
Well, truthfully, he does these site visits remotely himself.
So he does all the site visits himself?
Like this, pretty much, over a video call.
Okay.
He didn't always. He would do physical site visits, and he does sometimes. If they're an older couple or whatever, he'll go and do it.
Yeah. So the other 6 people in his organization are all support.
They're throwing solar up. They're installing.
They're doing the work.
Correct.
Okay. What's this gentleman's name?
Shay.
So Shay's got a great business. Okay. He's got a great business. I believe that he's got a 100% closing ratio. And obviously that's what works for him. Okay. What happens to the business if he croaks?
Well, truthfully, the next step for him is to get someone in that can do the site visit side of things. That goes without question. And we know that. That's fine. But we had to get the process down until we can train someone up on it. The point, though, is the emphasis isn't so much on getting out to the site. It's more making sure that we're going out to a site that we have a really high probability of closing.
Yeah. What are the chances of you creating another Shay?
Very high.
Then by all means, do it.
Yeah.
And there's no headbutting at all. Go for it. That's awesome.
So I'm wondering if it's the difference between a project-based business model and a job-based business model, or do you see like this working consistent, or is it a market issue, or is it the fact that maybe the guys that are going out on site don't know how to sell?
Well, it's all of those.
Could be everything.
Yeah, it's all those things. And your objective is what's that book called? Fix This Next, or You know what I'm talking about? Fix this now, right? So you go to one thing, you fix it, and you go to the next thing, you fix it, and you go to the next thing, you fix it. Okay. So I guess the model that I'm referring to is it's for a $10 million shop that runs by itself.
Right.
It could even be a $5 million shop that runs for itself. It could be a $100 million shop that runs by itself. And you have a team of people who just answer phones, and that's all they do.
Yeah, got
and
it.
You have a people who just work with the technicians and dispatch the technicians, and that's all they do.
Yeah, I got it.
And it's a group. I mean, the model that you're describing is great. It's fantastic. It comes back to your question, whether or not you want to scale it. And if Shay can scale that model, dude, 100% closing ratio, go. Absolutely, make that happen.
But I mean, just to qualify, it's 100% of site visits, right? It's not 100% of leads.
Okay.
Because we're disqualifying a lot of those leads. And it's
when he does the webinar.
Well,
yeah.
It's not so much a webinar, but it's like in discovery, he's disqualifying those leads to figure out,
okay, so now we're getting somewhere. How many of those discovery calls does he go through before he gets an on-site visit?
1 in 4 normally.
Okay. So he's got a 25% closing ratio.
Yeah. So leads in cold traffic. So normally half of those leads, just write them off because they're a waste of time. And of the rest of the remaining qualified, good quality half leads, 1 in 4.
Mm-hmm. What if he were to go out to 50%? Let's say there's another 25% that's out there. And half of those, if he were to get out to the home, he were to sell something, he's got to decide whether or not it's worth it.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's the thing. But I suppose in the interest of where he's at, it's not really worth his while because he knows the numbers are so good off what he's kind of doing. But yes, maybe in the interest of scale, that might have to change. He's not a $10 million business. He's a $3 million business,
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll tell you, I've got a friend of mine, really good friend. He's a roofer. And this is exactly what he's doing right now. Mm. And I asked him, he even answers his own phone calls.
Right.
So the company can only get as big. He's a $4 million company. It can only get as big as he can handle. And it won't get any bigger.
And I suppose this is just a natural conversation with business progression, right? Because a $2 million business is very different to a 10 million, and 10 million is very different to a 20 million, and so on and so forth. And I literally had this conversation with my coach before I jumped, an hour before I got on the call with you. To get to that next stage, there are things that have to change, and figuring out what those things are structurally, people-wise, HR, things need to change.
Yeah,
systems need to change.
Yeah. I like Shay's business. It's great. But currently, right now, as cool as it is, it's a job. It's a job. It's not a business that runs by itself. Now, if he were on this phone call, he may be pissed at me, right? He may be very, very upset with me because he may do very, very well. He may have a big house and a nice boat. He might have some really cool things.
Yeah.
But crazy thing, my friend, my roofer, when he goes on vacation, it's really weird when you call them. You don't get the same service when he doesn't answer the phone.
Sure.
And that's the downside. Now, it works for him. And if he keeps doing what he's doing over the next 10, 15 years, he can easily retire. But as soon as he retires, hopefully there's somebody that takes that over. Otherwise, it just kind of goes the way of the world. It's gone.
So either way, what we're talking about here is just deploying a system into a business, which makes any one individual essentially redundant.
Yeah. Yeah. And my objective would be to get to the point where you're booking all the calls. You're booking all of them. And when you send somebody out there, the expectation is, hey, if they can fog a mirror, it's a lead, it's an opportunity. And there are going to be some where you don't make a sell. And call it good practice. I want you to follow the same process with that customer that you would with any other customer. Do the best you can. Sell something. Because chances are the next one you go on is going to be a good one. So it's just a matter of practice. So that's,
interesting.
That's how I would go about it. And that's how I would scale the business. Mm. I would scale it by increasing call conversion, not lowering it. Now, if we have the ability to maintain productivity with Shay's model, as we scale it, it's awesome. Let's keep doing it. Let's figure it out. But I'd have a sister company. That makes an immediate phone call to everyone he said no to. And I'd go after those calls. And I could probably book another 50% of those and make something happen, right?
I guess it's probably largely dependent on the vertical. Like these guys typically they're not interested in being the cheapest. They're not interested in, like the whole race to the bottom, get best of 3 quotes sort of situation. And so because most of them come from that, and it's just like it's a bit of a grind because they spend all this time going around to site visits and giving out quotes and bids and stuff like that. And for what? They don't get accepted because it's not the right avatar, so they spend all this time driving around and not getting the outcome.
I'd be surprised if we couldn't make 85% of the ones we go out to our avatar, meaning we go out and sell something, especially if it's more than one thing that we do. If it's roofing, okay, let's qualify the heck out of them, right? If it's heating, cooling, and plumbing, let's get out there because chances are something's not working.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I mean. Like it's the projects versus jobs. Like projects are quite specific. It's like I need a new roof. Like I don't do anything else. I need a solar system.
I don't need to go out there for. Yeah, if I do it right, I'll need to go out there for.
I do
10 to
bathroom
20 years,
renovations. Right? Yeah, that's what I do.
Qualify the heck out of them. Sure. Now, if they do windows, if they do siding, if they do anything else, if they do solar, those are things that we can set up a process for. Mm-hmm. And hey, if you've got those customers, why not offer those other things? Why not have a one-stop shop? Why not? Right? These are all options. You can focus in on roofing and be the best roofer on the planet, and that's a great way to go. You can also be a roofer who also does solar, who also does windows and doors, who also does siding, and that is also a great way to go. But at the end of the day, your goal is for it to run by itself without you having to be there. So at some point, unless it's a lifestyle business, and that's okay. If you're resigned to a lifestyle business and that's what you want to do, man, I applaud you. I think it's the coolest thing since sliced bread. But if you want to do what, say, for example, Mike Aguilera did, with his $40 million shop, he built it up and he sold it, right? And that's what so many companies have been doing in the States. They build it up and they sell it. They build it up and they sell it. But there are some that wouldn't know what to do with themselves if they sold their company. Like, holy crap, what do I do? Look at the wall and watch paint dry? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very, very hard to sell a business that's dependent on any one individual. That's for sure.
Yeah. So if I can give a group of people a very specific skill set and make sure they do that better than anybody, right? Wow the customer, make sure they're the only one going out. And then I get another group of individuals. I give them a very specific skill set. They go out to the customer's home, they make something happen, right? And then I give another group of individuals a very specific skill set, and they go for it. That's how I believe we can start scaling a company, getting it running by itself.
Oh, mate, it's been a really good chat. I feel like we could go on for days on this topic. It's awesome. But in the interest of time, I guess it's getting late over there. What time is it over there?
I don't know, 7:30, 8:30. 8:30. It's 8:30. It's 8:30, Matt.
Mate, where can people get hold of you, and where can people visit?
Yeah, so if you are ready to build a team of call handlers that know how to create an environment of safety, comfort, and fun over that phone, so that you can book that call while that customer, make sure you're the only one going out, you just simply go to powersellingpros.com. That's POWERSELLINGPROS.com. Mm-hmm. And there you can schedule a demo. We'll do a demonstration of what we do and how we do it, how it works. It is ongoing coaching twice a month using their own phone calls. It is ongoing accountability coaching. We're not going to tell you what to do. We're going to just go in and we're going to do it for you. So with 1,000 trainees in our program, we're very, very good at this. And for those who are interested, we'd love to hear from you.
Great to have you. And look, for you guys out there that have been listening or watching this and you have any feedback or any questions that maybe we haven't answered, let us know. Send them over in the comments or reply to the emails or whatever you have to do. Because, I'm sure I could coax Brigham into coming back on and answering some questions.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'd love it.
Otherwise, Brigham, thank you so much for your time, man. It's been a really good conversation. It's been a long time overdue. Glad to get back glad to get back on the stage with you. But look forward to chatting in the future, mate.
Thanks, man.
Okay, listeners and viewers, that's a wrap. New Zealand-based home renovation company, 6,593% ROAS. Sydney-based solar company, 2,700% ROAS. Hunter region-based bathroom renovation company, 5,616% ROAS. Melbourne-based building company, 13,182% return on ad spend. Adelaide-based solar company, 2,881% return on ad spend. Guys, the list goes on and on. If you're a trade-based business and you work with projects like roofing, solar, bathroom renovations, kitchen renovations, anything like that, head across to tradie.wiki/pod for podcast. Tradie.wiki/pod for podcast. Book in a conversation. It is game changing.